don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so...
Hey, what's up, guys? Well, it looks like old Ann Taylor is going after the cell phone and USB file. You know, she's going to try to suppress the cell tower data. Comes now, Bryan C. Kohberger, by and through his attorney of record, submits the following memorandum in support of his contemporaneously filed motion for an order suppressing all found data by law enforcement from its search of the Seagate 2 terabyte external USB drive with serial number NA87T1GN. The motion and the documents in support of the Franks versus Delaware 438 U.S. 154 1978 hearing are hereby incorporated into the memorandum. The profiler with supportive documentation regarding Franks are filed under seal. For that reason, they are not set forth in full detail, but instead are incorporated. Now, here are the issues on why she is trying to get the cell phone data suppressed. The affidavit submitted is in support of the application for the issued search warrant recklessly or intentionally omitted material information. This affidavit submitted in support of the application for the issued search warrant included information that must be excised. All information in the affidavit was gathered because of law enforcement's unconstitutional use of the IGG, and thus nothing in the warrant should remain. The search warrant fails to command law enforcement to search the USB drive. The search warrant fails to provide specific particularization of what law enforcement could search on the copy of Mr. Kohberger's phone contained on the hard drive. Pennsylvania law enforcement, along with officers from the Idaho and the FBI, raided Mr. Kohberger's parents' home on December 30th, 2022. During the raid, law enforcement seized Mr. Kohberger's cell phone. After seizing the phone, FBI SSA J. Tanzola made a copy of the contents of the cell phone to a Seagate 2 terabyte external USB drive with the serial number hashtag NA87T1GN, labeled Philadelphia RCFL evidence, hereinafter USB drive. On January 9th, 2023, Detective Lawrence Mowry of the Moscow Police Department requested a warrant to search the content of the USB drive at the time stored at the forensics lab of the Moscow Police Department, Exhibit A. The affidavit for the warrant was signed by Detective Mowry. However, most of the information in the warrant was cut and pasted from an affidavit originally bearing the signature of Moscow Police Department Sergeant Blaker. Okay, now here's the thing, guys. Why is Mallory cutting and pasting something from an affidavit that was already done by Blaker? That just shows, to me, Mallory is one of the most incompetent cops I've ever seen. Because this isn't the first time in these motions to suppress where you've seen Mallory cut and paste from something Blaker had done. So does Mallory just not know how to do his own work, or is he taking from other officers' work and just cutting it and pasting it and putting it on his own? The affidavit for the warrant was signed by Detective Mallory. However, most of the information in the warrant was cut and pasted from the affidavit originally bearing the signature of Moscow Police Department Sergeant Blaker, but according to Mallory, now the sworn statement of Corporal Payne, Exhibit A, the basic fact Mallory used to support the search warrant was those used to arrest Mr. Kohberger and are the subject of a Frank's motion. Additional facts related to the cell phone data are as follows. The phone was seized when Mr. Kohberger's house in Pennsylvania was searched. Number 2, the data on the phone had already been extracted by the FBI. The search warrant for Mr. Kohberger's family home in Pennsylvania is also the subject of a motion to suppress. In the search of the house, if the search of the house is suppressed, that will be an additional ground to suppress the phone. It just seems like they're using this domino effect to try to either screw Bryan over or whatever they're trying to do. It just seems like they're not going the standard route of police work. It's like they're taking shortcuts to get what they want, to get this guy thrown in jail, and then to get him convicted to where he's put to death. That's just the way it seems to me. It seems like they're cutting a lot of corners in this case. Instead of doing what an actual police department would do, take the time to investigate, it just seems like they're cutting corners really, really bad, or they're cutting corners quick to where they can get what they want and then get this case closed, if you guys know what I'm saying. The affidavit submitted in support of the application for the issued search warrant recklessly or intentionally omitted material information. The Fourth Amendment states unambiguously that no warrants shall issue but upon probable cause supported by oath of affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. Probable cause exists when giving all circumstances set forth in the affidavit. But if we go back and look at the probable cause affidavit, it's all full of holes. It's full of holes and half-truths. Now, do we even know if Dylan Bethany is going to testify in this trial? No, we don't. Because, all this boils down to is Dylan's statement. 5'10" or taller, athletically built, not muscular, bushy eyebrows. That's the most generic statement I've ever heard. And we've all seen the alcohol stop on the band field. Saeed, he's 5'10" or taller. He has bushy eyebrows. He's athletically built but not muscular. And if Dylan and Bethany really cared about their roommates, what they call friends, why did not one of them call 911? Why? You have Dylan who sees the killer walking out of the house at after 4 something in the morning. And I don't believe that they were drunk. I don't believe that they were drunk. I don't believe half the stuff that comes out their mouth. They are the roommates that didn't call 911. And because Dylan, after she saw the killer, she went back into her room. She went back into her room, locked the door for 8 hours, and instead of calling 911 when she got up, she called her friends. And see, that's what I don't understand. Put a fireplace on. That's what I don't understand, guys. We have Dylan and Bethany, the two roommates that don't call 911. Now, and guys, I bet you anything, if they would have called 911 after Dylan saw the supposed clad in black guy, maybe one of those freaking kids would have been saved. Possibly Xana. Her life could have been saved because she had edged weapon injuries. Possibly Ethan. He had sharp force injuries. Maddie and Kaylee, possibly. But don't tell me that these two are surviving roommates. What did they survive? The only thing they survived was not being thrown in jail because they didn't call 911 right away. They waited 8 hours to call 911. And that is wrong. And that in the state of Idaho is an obstruction of justice charge with at least a year in prison. So maybe that's why they got the hell out of Idaho and they lawyered up. For a search warrant to be valid, the judge issuing the warrant must rely on an affidavit or affidavits sworn to before the judge or by testimony under oath and recorded that established the grounds for issuing the warrant. Any discrepancy between the items for which there was no probable cause and there was description in the search warrant requires suppression. It is clear that the issuing magistrate himself, if he is to fulfill the constitutionality mandated function of interposing the independent intelligence between the law enforcement officer and the citizens, must actually and in fact draw the interferences from the evidence presented to him. It is for this reason that the courts have insisted that the full facts from which interferences might be drawn and information necessary to determine this reliability to be placed before the issue magistrate. Finally, a criminal defendant may challenge the veracity of the affidavit used to obtain a search warrant. Upon a preliminary showing of a warrant's deficiency, the defendant must prove by a preponderance of the evidence that the intentional or reckless falsehoods were included in the warrant affidavit and were material to the magistrate's finding of probable cause. You see that right there. They didn't use a magistrate's finding of probable cause. They used that PCS dirt rag paper for probable cause. And I see now why Ann's going after these suppression motions, because the Moscow Police Department isn't doing this the legal way. They got all this stuff because of a probable cause affidavit in which Bill Thompson stated that the probable cause affidavit is null and void. So if it's null and void and they used that piece of paper to get all this evidence, then the evidence should be null and void. As well as the arrest warrant too. A omission of exculpatory facts is material only if there is a substantial probability that had the omitted information been presented, it would have altered the magistrate's determination of probable cause. Whether an omission was intentional or reckless might be inferred in part for the relative importance of the information and its exculpatory power. In this case, law enforcement either intentionally or recklessly, but likely intentionally, omitted exculpatory evidence as to almost every facet of its affidavit for this warrant. The details of the omissions are explained fully in a Frank's proffer and are incorporated as is fully set forth here. Suppression is required. The affidavit submitted in support of the application for the issued search warrant, including information that must be excised. Where information in a warrant is obtained via a violation of the constitutional Idaho courts, excised information. All information in the affidavit was gathered because of law enforcement's unconstitutional use of investigative genetic genealogy. It goes right back to the IGG, guys, and thus nothing in the warrant should remain. Mr. Kohberger has argued in a separate motion that the genetic genealogy investigation in this matter was done in violation of the Constitution. Additionally, he argues that there would be no investigation into him without the original constitutional violation. It is not that the results of the IGG sped up the investigation. Instead, they focused the investigation on Mr. Kohberger, a person whose only connection to this case was his mode of transportation and the shape of his eyebrows. Very true. Two identifications of little to no value, as the Idaho Supreme Court has explained, while the initial burden is showing a factual nexus between the illegality and the evidence, the state must show the state must show it would have been discovered anyway. The state cannot make this showing without IGG. There is no case, no request for his phone records, surveillance of his parents' home, no DNA taken from the garbage in his driveway in a gated community required to follow a trash removal ordinance, because the IGG analysis is the origin of this matter. Everything in the affidavit should be excised. And she does have a good point there. There was no request for his phone records. There was no request for the surveillance of his parents' home. Now, I do know that they took his dad's DNA from the garbage, but they did not take his DNA from the garbage. So, if they're really looking at this guy as the killer, why not take his DNA from the garbage instead of his dad's? If they're saying that they have, if they have some touched DNA off the knife sheath and it was his, okay, then take his DNA from the trash and not his dad's. If you're doing that, that almost sounds like a setup. Why would you take his dad's DNA out of the trash and send it off to get tested, and not take his DNA out of the trash? Because we all know the FBI was watching him. So the FBI would see him take out the trash, whether he put it in the neighbor's bin or not. Said FBI person could go over and take out his trash out of the neighbor's bin and go get it tested. That's what, this is what is so weird and fishy and odd to me, is why take his dad's trash? Why not take the one that he put in the neighbor's? Separately, the information gathered via the various other warrants are argued in the motions to suppress, and any applicable information should be excised for the reason argued. The warrant in this matter fails to accurately provide a command to search the USB drive. In state summary, there are grounds for issuing a search warrant. There are grounds to believe the USB drive for evidence regarding the investigation, including, and then lists all possibility types of data on the drive located in the MPD's forensic lab. The command is made to search the premises defined by the police station's forensic lab for the property and seize it. The Idaho Supreme Court found Adamick versus State 163 Idaho 114 124-25 2017. The Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution requires that warrants must particularly describe the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. However, decisions must reflect that the recognition that the Fourth Amendment commands, like all constitutional requirements, are practical and not abstract. The circuit court are nearly uniform in allowing an affidavit to support the particularity requirement when the warrant suitable references the affidavit and the affidavit accompanies the warrant. Supreme Court has acknowledged that the court must construe a warrant with reference to a supporting application or affidavit if the warrant uses appropriate words of incorporation and if the supporting document accompanies the warrant noting the supporting affidavit was sufficient as a suitable reference and incorporation. The court relied on these findings to dismiss a post-conviction claim, finding the defendant would not have been successful if he had challenged the fact that the computer search was omitted from items to be searched in the command section of the warrant. In this case, however, there is no reference to the affidavit, only to proof, and the court found the warrant explicitly referenced the affidavit. In SDI Future, the court relied on a reference to upon the sworn complaint made before me. The word proof does not specify that the court relied on the affidavit for the probable cause determination. Additionally, there is no evidence that the warrant and affidavit were attached to each other. Thus, the warrant did not permit the search. She is 100% right there, guys. So, if the search warrant was not attached to the probable cause affidavit, then they need to, and we all know what Bill Thompson has stated, the probable cause affidavit doesn't matter anymore. So what they need to do is throw all this junk out, like the arrest warrant and everything else, because clearly they did not use that as part of the probable cause affidavit, because you had Pennsylvania filing search warrants, and then you had Don Daniels over at WSU filing search warrants, then you had Moscow filing search warrants. Okay, do all three police departments need to file the same damn search warrants? No. What they need to do is take that probable cause affidavit that they were using at the time connect the warrants to the probable cause affidavit to get the shit that they needed. But it sounds like to me that the probable cause affidavit was just a bunch of fluff anyway, because I mean, if you look at Dawn Daniels said that in her search warrant, she wasn't going to tie the search warrant to the IGG because she had a feeling the IGG was going to get thrown out. Okay. So, if you're not going to connect these search warrants to the probable cause affidavit, are these illegal searches? Are these illegal search and seizures? Yes, I believe they are. If you're not going to link them to the probable cause affidavit, you know, when you first started going with the search warrants, it's an illegal search and seizure. And to have Bill and Thompson state that their precious PCA does not count anymore, so yeah, if it doesn't count anymore, then this other bogus stuff that they're doing shouldn't count either. Like always, guys, like, subscribe, and comment on my channel. Hit that bell notification for any new uploads. And this is my only second video back. I still feel like crap. I hope I get stronger. Throughout the coming days. I'm on antibiotics and steroids now. So, yay, make super Robert. But you guys have a good Monday night. And this is Robert with True Crime Podcast. I'm out. Peace.
Descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you think you're worth my time, you're delirious. Mysterious, because you hide behind a fake exterior. Inferior, you know I'll always be a bit superior. Get off of me, this ain't no humble brag. I want you to hear words, you can say them back. I want you to feel free from the chains that last.